Hello art lovers! Welcome to my free drawing tutorial channel. In this video, I will explain to you how I drew this portrait. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos. Okay, let's get to this portrait drawing. Like most times, we start by drawing the eyes. We add the blacks with a charcoal pencil and draw all the darkness and details of the iris, eyes, and eyebrows. Then we go to the blender and soft flat brush and blend the darkness. And I use the hard flat brush number 8 and 10 and specify the darkness in the surrounding areas. We also draw the lines between the leaf and the face with the flat brush, and then we go to the nose and the back of the lips. We draw everything that we see in the original photo first with a charcoal pencil and then with a hard, flat brush. We also use a filbert brush for some of the darkness. I move on to the next eye and repeat the steps like the previous eye. We draw these parts with a charcoal pencil, a blender, and a flat brush number 0. We also outline the line along the face and cheek, shade the cheek, and move on to the lip lines. This lip has so many details that we use a mechanical pencil for the faint parts and outline the other parts with a charcoal pencil and shade with a flat brush, filbert, and blender, creating the volume of the lip. And then we move on to the surrounding parts, such as the chin and cheeks. And then we add the border of the leaf line that is on the forehead. We also draw the hair around the forehead with a charcoal pencil. And, using the same darkness that was drawn with the charcoal pencil on the cardboard, we define an initial shadow on the forehead with a hard, flat brush number 12. We move on to drawing other lines, such as the lines on the leaf, the lines of the earrings and the necklace. And then I move on to shading the neck. I use a filbert brush number 6 and a flat brush number 10. I also use a hard flat brush for the textures. We move on to the leaves and draw dark lines and all the details with a charcoal pencil. We also add dark textures with the same pencil. There is a lot of detail in this drawing, and we need to sharpen the pencil regularly. As I add the leaf lines, I also draw the finger lines. Using a mechanical pencil in the areas where the shadows are very light and a charcoal pencil in the areas where the shadows are dark. The same goes for small details like the ring. We move on to the darkness inside the hair. We always draw the texture of the hair first with a charcoal pencil. We also draw all the darkness that is around and the dark strands with a charcoal pencil. In small areas, we blend the darkness with a blender and a 10-flat brush and erase the excess darkness. We check the hair once again and go back to the same part and start adding the lights again. First, we draw the highlights with a paste eraser, mechanical eraser, pencil eraser, and electric eraser. And the facial textures with a blender and a flat brush number 0, and the bright parts with a mechanical pencil. Sometimes, in between, we use a white charcoal pencil to add bright highlights. If there is a dark shadow in these parts, we draw it with a filbert brush. The most important thing is that the lines and details are very fine and thin, and we must sharpen the erasers and charcoal pencil. Then we move on to the nose and the back of the lips, and first draw the highlights, then the shadows, and the darks again. The shadows on the nose are bright, but we are careful not to make it too dark. And we go back to completing the lips. We use the same tool to draw the lips, and since there are so many tiny parts, we use a mechanical pencil for the highlights and a blender for the shadows because we can create thin shadows with it. But for all the shadows, we also use a soft flat brush and a filbert. In addition to the highlights, there are also dark shadows, all of which we draw according to the original photo. I emphasized many times in the video that when we draw from a photo, we need to increase our visual skills and pay close attention to the original photo. After adding the shadows to the face and around the lips and adding the lights, we move on to the shadows on the leaf. For the second time, we add the shadows to the leaves and draw the dark shadows using a blender in a soft, flat brush. Slowly, we add shadows and textures, and every time we use the brush and the darkness is reduced, we create it again with a charcoal pencil, and yes, we erase it again. I said before that this art is about repetition, and repetition, and repetition. Although it may seem that there is no detail in the gray areas, we need to draw all the lines on the leaves with a charcoal pencil and then blend it with the brush and repeat this many times until all the texture on the leaf is clear. As we can see, each leaf may have its own texture, and its lines may be different from the other leaves. So we draw each one in the same way as we see in the photo. Creating these differences and details is what can make our work stand out from others and more beautiful. I also add the darkness of the finger at the same time. We pay attention to the shadows on the nail and the protrusions on the nail and finger. We use a mechanical pencil for the light parts and a charcoal pencil for the dark parts. We continue drawing the leaves, noting that in some parts the darkness is blurry and should have less detail, so we add more shadow in these parts. We move on to completing the eyes and eyebrows, and draw the lights with erasers. We also make sure that the shadows and lights are completely drawn in the parts around the eyes. Remember that I will post a video tutorial on drawing this same drawing in real time soon. Some textures, such as the iris, must be created in layers. That is, first the darkness, then the lights, then the textures, and then we repeat this cycle until we can create the desired texture and the natural state of the eye. In some parts, we may repeat this cycle of creating light and shadow textures more than 10 times. We add shadows and highlights to the face and neck with a filbert brush. We add textures with a pencil eraser and a blender and a soft flat brush number 0. Sometimes we use a hard, flat brush. We add the details of the necklace. First, we draw the highlights with a charcoal pencil, and then the highlights with the erasers. We add the highlights again, so that we can draw the correct details and the grays we want. We also add the highlights on the earrings. Some parts are completely light, which we draw with erasers and a white charcoal pencil, and some parts are completely dark, which we use a charcoal pencil and small brushes and charcoal powder to draw them. We go to the shadows on the leaves and draw the highlights with the erasers. And again, if we need to darken, we draw the darkness and create the light again. And then we draw the very light parts with a charcoal pencil. While drawing the details of the leaves, we also add the hairs that we see on it and the shadows of the fingers. For the light lines, we use the mono zero eraser and the mechanical eraser, and for the very light spots, we use the electric eraser. Now, we draw most of the dark spots with a charcoal pencil, but in some places we also use the blender. I put the blender into the charcoal powder and create the spots with it. Soon, in the real-time videos that are over 300 hours long, I will teach you all this step by step. We add the light hairs around using the eraser and the darkness using the large round brush and the flat brush, number 8. We also draw the very light hair with a white charcoal pencil and complete the leaves on the other side. In this part, the leaves are a little blurry, so the details are not very visible, and the shadows are more uniform. But we create every light and dark that we see in the original photo with our tool. We also pay attention to the shadows on the forehead so that they are added enough, and after completing these parts, we go back to the hair. We add all the darks and lights that we see in the hair section. As you can see, some parts, although dark hair has been added to them, need to add the darks again and work on the lights and light hair again. We also draw the details of the earring that is between the hair. We also draw the small and scattered light hair with a white charcoal pencil at the end of the work. Remember to like the video and be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss professional real-time videos. Hoping to see you, my friend.